It comes back to our own training, our own ignorance to our own nature. We could relate this to the country that you live in, like a beautiful human being like Martin Luther King Jr. could live, and he showed he was a beacon of light for the American civilization at that time, and he chose no race, he chose no belief. He did live from Christianity, but he always chose the path to embrace humanity. And at that time, America did embrace his message. Not all Americans, but majority were like, yeah, okay, we're sick of all of this crap about the divisions between races and religions and whatnot. But once he had passed over, everyone went back to the way it was. Like, that was the episode of Martin Luther King on television, and just turn it over to the cartoons. Like, there is built-in ignorance into us. It comes from our fragmented psyche. We can't ignore it because we're so busy within the mind that we can't even logically look at these situations, let alone spiritually look at what a human being like, say, Gandhi was doing in India. Like a massive human being, not in physical nature, but in spiritual nature, to try and bring 1 billion people together out of understanding that, look, we are all human beings just living on this earth, not a Muslim, not a Hindu. Let's come to some understanding here. But then once he had passed over, still we didn't listen. So the true essence of this, to try and hear what these people are saying, is move all of that within you that disagrees with what these people are saying. That's what has to happen. You need to move that aside and realize that your eyes are the same as their eyes. You can see a unified world if you choose to, or you can continue to perpetuate your own ego in this world.
And does perpetuating that ego, is that just directly just connected to fear? What is there in terms of, because you say that, the modern day translucent or weirdo is going through their own resurrection. And, for me, any resurrection implies that there is a death and resurrection. There is a surrender to something new. So we need to let go of something in order to move forward. And is that our sticking point?
That is our sticking point. It's like what we spoke about earlier about the shadow. It relates to that as well. But yeah, we have personal resurrections where we need to let go of. An ancient sage that I listen to says you need to consciously die to who you are not, to what you have learned. And once you consciously die from that, then you will grow into be that true being, the true light that you are. So that's what that implies. There is a letting go. There's a letting go of who we are not. Now, some people may not understand that, but if you just even look at the very surface level, why are you American? Why am I Australian? Like, why is any of that there? Can you let go of that and still live your existence and truly live from that existence? Not just passively just push it aside and just say, I'm not American for the day. Truly live from there. Live from, I'm just a human being having an experience in this universe. See what happens. See if something resurrects within you, that the illusion of duality falls away and you can understand more about consciousness and your role in this universe.
That always, to me, it always becomes real when we think of, how do these things apply to the guy in the car on the Golden Gate Bridge who's stuck in traffic and heading to work, and with all the pressures of, the mortgage and the bills and the kids and the appointment and all of that. How do we talk about, if we can be just a little more detailed, the letting go there? What's a first step, even in just a subtle way?
Just self-inquiry. Look at yourself. Just look into your own being. Just inquire. That's the first step, I would say. For myself, I can only say from my experience, but I don't want my experience to be everyone else's experience. The way I consciously grew was exploring the external world. And the amazing thing that happened was I found out a lot that was wrong with the world, but then I understood why they did it. In understanding that, I understood that the only solution to that is not to fight what it is, but just to become what it's not. Become who you truly are. Now, I had this question yesterday. It's good that you mentioned this, because a good friend of mine, he totally understands and he totally feels what we are saying, but he has the kids and he has a mortgage and he has a car. Yeah. He's built all of this up around himself.
Right.
But there is that calling within him to look there. He knows that. But because the external world's pulling him into the illusion of, I've got to support my family, even though he does have that role. I'm not ignoring that.
Right.
But how much time are you emphasizing on freedom instead of paying a mortgage? That's where we need to be really honest with ourselves. And the guy who's sitting on the Golden Gate Bridge right now listening, he needs to be serious to himself. Am I growing at this 9-to-5 job that I'm going to at the moment? Or is it better off that I get a casual job and just work 4 hours a day and concentrate more on myself? I don't need so much material possessions. Because honestly, when we think about material energy, we only need 3 things: food, clothing, and shelter. And that's it. So why do we need everything else on top? That's what we need to ask ourselves.
And yes, and I do believe that, for the most part, people are well-intentioned. People are, even if they're feeling the pressure of this life that they've built for themselves, that they're good people really trying to do the right thing according to the culture, which is on some level burdening or separating or splintering things, but doing their best, in the meantime. But what you're talking about is balance. It sounds to me like to focus on balance, or giving yourself, really treating yourself well by connecting with who you truly are inside, this infinite being you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Find that balance, and like, as you probably know, Carole, resurrection and enlightenment and all of this, it's not a collective thing. Well, not in this time of the cycle. It's not a collective thing. I'm not so sure about other times, but it's an individual experience. So that's why I do be careful when I'm around other people who say they wouldn't get into a conversation like you and I are now. But I observe and I can understand where they come from. It's just not that time for them to have that experience. We're eternal. That's what we need to understand. That experience may be embraced in another life, but it's just not for them it's not for them at this time in the infinite, I should say. But yeah, that's it. Like, and I see a lot of people actually saying that the spiritual movement, especially, where there's an air of arrogance to people who aren't more aware. So for me, I try to just sow a good word here and do a good deed there out of love and not out of fear. Right.
Right. Yes, that's interesting, because you mentioned the word guru just sort of came to mind when you mentioned some folks who are very self-aware as being aware. And really, I think the essence of the spiritual path is, as you said, on some level, just one of service and helping. You meant when you were referring to India before, the image of Mother Teresa came to me. Someone like Teresa living out her life completely, just taking care and taking care and taking care. And she was asked, about this terrible poverty that she's working in, and she mentioned, well, here there's maybe a physical poverty, but it doesn't compare to the spiritual poverty of the Western culture. And
exactly. That's beautiful.
That's what
you said it that way. That she said it that way.
Yes, the materialism. Even if you think you're supposed to, the materialism, the focus on money, or the greed in a larger context. really splintering us to a point where I think, seems like the planet's kind of feeling it.
It's feeling it, yeah. It's feeling, I believe it's feeling the Western psyche. It's feeling the disillusionment with material energy. Like, it's great that Mother Teresa said that. That's perfect because, there is a spiritual poverty within the West. I live in the city in Australia here, and I try not to judge, but walking through the streets, it's hard to be around sometimes because it's almost animalistic in nature, the way humans have become, and we've evolved out of that to become that infinite expression. And when you are in a place like India or say Africa or South America, there is a poverty in the physical sense, but that vibration that runs through those lands and the way that people are, you can't ignore it. I met children on the streets of Calcutta where they had nothing, but they had a smile on their face. And in the West, you don't get that. You get, Mum, how much is this? I want this. That's what you get.
Well, I think things are stretching to the point here where the need for balance is becoming just a cry out, and you are one of the people who are helping to address that. We're coming to the end of our program, Jason, but I'd like some time if people would like to learn more about your work or find your book. Where should they go? Do you have some website information for us?
Well, my website's in the process of it being built. At the moment, the only way I can be contacted is through the One World Within network via YouTube, youtube.com/OneWorldWithin, and twitter.com/OneWorldWithin, or you can email me at jasongregory@hotmail.com.au. And you can find the book online anywhere, through Amazon, or you can even visit Inner Circle Publishing, and you can see my publishing page there. That's innercirclepublishing.com.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. I feel there's so much more we can talk about, but across all these time zones, I just want to thank you for coming on the program, and we hope that you stay in touch. Let us know what's going on. If you have more books or projects, please let us know.
I will do, Carole, and thank you and Michael for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and you guys are doing beautiful work yourselves.
Thank you again. And thank you, listeners, for joining us for the Godspeed Institute today. This program was recorded live on the Progressive Radio Network in New York City. Our guest was Jason Gregory, and believe it or not, our engineer was Gregory Jason. And the show is produced by Michael Hallundbaek. If you would like to hear this or any of our previous shows again, or send it to someone, simply go to GodspeedInstitute.com, where you can find my own books on the spiritual core of relationships, as well as a library of others from around the world. Please send your comments to contact@GodspeedInstitute.com. We'd love to hear from you. Join us again as we continue to explore all the world's religions and spiritual belief systems. Until then, we wish you Godspeed on your journey.